Well, ladies and gents, this is Modern Classics Summarize of Mice and Men by the channel Oli Psychiatry Production. Her expression right here tells me that this is gonna be a good book. Yeah, this is the most depressing book I've ever read. Damn. Why would you make me read this? Why would you make me read this twice? Okay, the better question is, why does the American education system feel the need to subject teenagers to this year after year? Haven't we already suffered enough? Yeah, so I guess just like the Lord of the Flies, which apparently from the comments lots of people liked. People get good messages from them. Yeah, but the core of that is kids get murdered. So yeah, it is bleak, right? So I guess this is gonna be similar like that. I don't know. Oh, Mice and Men. It's still going to be fun. It's going to be depressing. It's going to be miseryful, but still it's going to be fun because even in depressed state, read always entertains. So let's watch this one. Remember, people, if you like my reaction on food, subscribe, check out the Rick Sunday, there's a link in the description, check out the cards or play, check out the end cards, and yeah, let's watch it.
Oh boy. Okay, so Of Mice and Men is a book about horrible, depressing stuff. You might be wondering if I'm going to be drawing the frames for this, and I can say with certainty that I will not, for several reasons. First, this is way faster, and I don't want to keep this story in my head for any longer than necessary. Second, I get way more emotionally invested in stuff that I have to draw, as anyone who saw my Odyssey video might have realized. Man, I looked sketchy back then. And thirdly, because there is a perfectly fine movie version of this particular book that does a better job of capturing the bleak, desolate worldview that Steinbeck loves so dearly than I ever could. So the main characters are these dudes, George and Lenny. George is a small, smart man, while Lenny is a large, stupid man. See, they got a yin-yang thing going. Symbolism? Anyway, George and Lenny are besties, with George basically serving as the wall between Lenny and a cold, cruel world that doesn't understand him, while simultaneously trying to build a happy, peaceful life for them both. Well, that's nice. I hope we get to see them succeed. Have I mentioned this takes place during the Great Depression? So unfortunately, it's a little tricky for Lenny and George to scrape together the money for their dream of a little farm with fluffy rabbits and perpetual sunshine, mostly because Lenny has a few quirks that make it hard for them to hold down a job. First of all, he's enormous. Second, he's very strong. And third, he's obsessed with soft things and really likes touching them. The end result of this is a lot of cute, fluffy, and very dead animals, and at least one assault charge from the time he wouldn't let go of a girl's skirt. Yeah, I'm sure this story is gonna go great. So our story begins with George and Lenny heading to a new ranch for a new job, after losing their last one by getting run out of town after the aforementioned skirt thing. George momentarily contemplates how much easier his life would be without Lenny, but we all know that's empty speculation. Anyway, George keeps Lenny entertained by telling him how they're going to have a farm and animals and live off the fat of the land. Lenny's the most excited about the prospect of owning rabbits because, again, he likes soft things. Get used to this character trait, as it's the only one he has.
Yeah, that's your classic, a big gorilla like small cat type of thing, right? That's the biggest, biggest thing that is like, gorillas, loving cats, but in the end cats die because it's a fucking gorilla. So it's something like that.
So before they head into town, George tells Lenny that if anything bad happens in town, Lenny should hide by the river in this specific spot so George can find him. I hope that Chekhov's gun doesn't end up getting fired. Anyhow, they arrive and get set up where the boss is immediately slightly suspicious at how little Lenny's talking, but that's much less of a problem than the sudden arrival of his son, Curly, a walking Napoleon complex who makes his entrance into the story by picking a fight with Lenny and swaggering away when Lenny doesn't comprehend that he's being provoked. Anyway, we learn that Curly has a wife he married 2 weeks ago who's already making eyes at the ranchers, which goes a long way towards explaining why he's picking fights with everyone with a Y chromosome. And George warns Lenny not to fight Curly because that's a one-way ticket to Firedsville. Sure hope that doesn't come up again. Anyway, then Curly's wife shows up, poses for a couple minutes, and then sprints off when she hears her husband's around. Lenny's entranced by her, calling her Purdy, which immediately leaves George worried about what he might end up doing. But this train of thought is disrupted by the entrance of another character, Slim, who's apparently the literal coolest and passes out puppies like party favors. Man, I want to be friends with this guy. So the next day, Slim and George talk about Lenny, and George explains why they're traveling together, which boils down to George used to bully the hell out of them when they were kids, but then he figured out that it's no fun to bully someone if they don't even realize they're being bullied. What a stellar example of human compassion. Meanwhile, Lenny likes puppies. Shocker. Anyway, another one.
Yeah, I think the point there was that, he realized that he's bullying Lenny, but Lenny's not all there, let's just say. Then he started to realize and take pity on him. I guess that's why they're together. Not because it's not fun to bully him because he doesn't realize it. Right? Yeah. Maybe it's that, I don't know.
One of the rancher's employees is this old dude named Candy, who's got a dog who's ancient and stinky and way more trouble than he's worth, so another one of the ranchers urges him to put the old dog down and save them both a world of trouble. Huh, that almost sounds like it's mirroring the experience of another important character. How bizarre. Anyway, the other rancher volunteers to put the dog down, and he does. Man, this is just the feel-good novel of the century. More Curly's wife drama happens as Curly runs in looking for her again, and then immediately runs out again to go look for Slim, who he suspects of sleeping with her. George and Lenny discuss their dreams of a house with rabbits again, but this time Candy mentions that he has money saved up that he could give them, them if they took him with them when they left to buy the farm. This is the best thing that's happened to them in a while, since together they'd have nearly enough money to actually do it. Wow, their dream is suddenly so close to being a reality.
So they're, creating a band apparently, like how, one of those Journey to the West type of thing. Oh, there were 2, then now there's 3, now there's 4. Okay.
Sure hope nothing goes horribly wrong in the next few minutes. Enter Curly and Slim, arguing furiously. Curly, looking to take out his aggression on someone who can't kick his ass, notices Lenny, still happy at the prospect of the farm, and decides that picking a fight with the 8-foot super strong giant is the best idea ever. So he very briefly kicks Lenny's ass until George tells Lenny to fight back a little, and Lenny...
What, just like that? He just started attacking him? What the fuck? One of the servants? What? I mean, this is just stupid. You're just gonna attack somebody?
does this by crushing Curly's fist. Oh boy. Fortunately, Slim, still the best guy ever, easily convinces Curly not to tell anyone how his hand got so messed up, with the reasoning being that Curly's too much of an egomaniac to be able to handle the humiliation. Whew, crisis averted, right? Anyway, next morning Lenny goes and tries to make friends with Crooks, who's the black stable buck, which proves difficult because Crooks is, with reason, not the happiest individual. But then Candy shows up, and when they discuss their idyllic view of a farm in the future, even the jaded Crooks is a fan of the idea. And then Curly's wife shows up again. She's her usual degree of flirty with Lenny, but this time it's coupled with a healthy dose of racism towards Crooks. She does, however, put together that Lenny broke Curly's hand, and apparently she finds this super hot. Anyway.
Yeah. So extremely horny wife, who's gonna cause trouble for other people. And apparently they are starting a band because more and more people liking the idea and joining them up, apparently.
Anyway, she casually threatens to have Crooks lynched and then leaves, and the now disillusioned Crooks says he's not interested in joining them on the farm anymore. Feel-good novel of the century. Anyway, it's now later, and Lenny's sitting in the barn with his puppy, which is now dead, because, again, he's super strong and can't leave soft things alone. He's very conflicted about the dead puppy, because if George finds out that he killed it, he might not let him tend the rabbits in their idyllic, totally gonna happen farm future. Anyway, while he's debating what to do, who should appear but that harbinger of unnecessary complications herself, Curly's wife. So Curly's wife persuades Lenny to talk to her, even though George warned him that she'd give them nothing but trouble. Lenny's sad the puppy's dead, while Curly's wife is sad that she can't make something of her life. Basically, her story is that a long while ago she met a dude who said he was gonna make her a star, but rather than that story playing out Chicago style, he never got back to her. She thought maybe her mother sabotaged her chances, so she ran off and married Curly out of spite. Lenny is, of course, completely uninterested, instead continuing to bemoan the potential loss of more fluffy things, and Curly's wife decides to try speaking his language, and offers to let him pet her hair, which is itself remarkably soft and fluffy. Lenny's very excited and pets her hair, but she freaks out when she feels how strong he is and tries to pull away.
Is this really happening? So there she is. Her career is in ruin. So she is kind of emotionally spiteful in a way. So she hits on anybody new that comes around. She saw this giant who's not all there. Anybody can see it from the distance. And then she's like, oh, look at that. You killed a puppy. It was soft and fluffy, so you killed it. Now here, my hairs are soft and fluffy too. I guess nothing bad can happen.
Away. Lenny, as previously established, reacts to this by panicking, and long story short, he accidentally breaks her neck. So now that's 2 fluffy deaths that he doesn't want George finding out about. Lenny remembers what George told him to do in case he gets...
It's just the same, right? Whether it's a dog or a woman, it's the same thing, right? It's just, 2 fluffy that's dead.
into trouble and sneaks away to hide by the river. Later that day, Candy and George discover her body and they immediately put together what happened and resolve to tell the others, although George insists that they not be allowed to hurt Lenny. Unfortunately, Curly is definitely going to want to shoot him, so George low-key sends them off in the wrong direction, saying they came from the north so Lenny would have gone south, and heads off on his own with one of the rancher's guns. So Lenny's off hiding by the river, having visions of his dead Aunt Clara and giant rabbits telling him he's a terrible person, when George finds him. Although Lenny expects George to give him hell and tell him how much easier his life would be without him, George instead tells him to take off his hat, feel the wind, and look across the river. Then he starts describing in vivid, beautiful detail the farm where they're gonna live, and the rabbits that Lenny will get to take care of. Okay. And then he shoots Lenny in the head. Feel-good novel of the century. You know, I don't think
Now what the fuck? Oh god, that was fucking depressing. So here's a guy who's not all there. I guess he's the same as a sick dog because they made the reference of that just before, putting down a sick dog. So, he was just there, liking fluffy things, and fluffy thing died because he's fucking giant. He accidentally kills someone by panicking, and this guy just shoots him in the head because he was a sick dog. So what's the message? Anybody who's not right in the head is a sick dog who needs to put down. Is that the message? That's just fucked up. This whole thing is fucked up. I'm sure people in the comment will also tell that the book is nice. There's a good message. Look, I haven't read the book. This is summarized version. Maybe that's why I'm seeing more bleak side of it, because that's how Reid wants to portray it. But the story so far feels extremely fucked up. Oh god. Is this how entire modern classics are going to be? I think this is the, this is the playlist of it. So far I did the Lord of the Flies. I just did now Mice and Men. And this is the third one that just started in 1984. And after that, oh, there is one Christmas or something. So all modern classics are going to be depressing. Is that it? What the fuck? He just like, you see that picture and bam, just shoots him. What the fuck, man? I don't know. But wasn't there any, I don't know, mental institution where he could have been helped or something? I don't know, find some scenario or setting, actually buy a fucking farm where there are no women or something like that that he can hurt, and actually, put him to good use or something. Shooting him in the head. Oh, he has become way too nuisance. We have to put him down now. Really? Alright people, that was Mice and Men. It was fucking depressing. I did not see that coming in the end, but yeah. I'll see you next time.